because there's a new Lotro zone apparently, and Louis talked about it, and so I wanted to watch this with you guys if you guys don't mind. Apparently, he's got some info on the new zone. We talked about it the other night, and I want to see if we're right. We essentially said that it might be Harad, because I think that they said that if you look at the stable, like if we look at our stable masters map and we zoom all the way out, that that Harad is not, there's nothing there, and that's kind of seems to be their expansion direction. Is kind of, you know, we've got Mordor up here, but then if we go down, there's Harad, maybe to the east, but I'm really I'm interested in it, so it's gonna be cool. So I want to watch this video with you guys. I want to hear what you guys think. I'll check Discord while we watch it, and then let's see if they yeah, I love that they're adding new zones for lower levels. I think they're smart because they know it takes a long time to get to these higher level zones. So what Meme said is true. Like the idea of adding zones for lower levels is really, really smart. Yeah, but let's watch it. Let's see what update 34 might bring us from the lore master of Lord of the Rings Online himself. I really appreciate Louie's content. So let's jump into it.
We may already know the next zone in the Lord of the Rings Online, just like with what happened with Yondershire. Recently, I have heard some people talking about the next zone in Lotro being in the Grey Flood River region and including the town of Tharbad. So for anybody unfamiliar, the specific stretch of this river that we are talking about here is going to be west of the southern portion of Eregion and west of Inidwaith. Presumably, such a zone would fill in at least part of this huge south road gap that we currently have in the game. The whole stretch.
Wait, so he's saying that it's gonna be south of the Shire? Hold on. Let's just give me one second. So what he's saying is that we won't be expanding into Haradrim down here, that we might be expanding south of the Shire, which is really fascinating, actually. That's really fascinating. I'm sorry, I don't mean to like just stop it, but just that sounds really fascinating. Okay.
From Breland to Inidwaith is not in the game. Something perhaps very appealing to some players is that if Standing Stone Games does this right, that is, it would be a perfect location for an alternative to Moria, where you can, for example, wrap up Eregion and then go to this potential zone that's west of southern Eregion and then straight to Inidwaith, never really having to enter Moria or Mirkwood for that matter even.
Interesting.
So, why do we think this area is the next zone? Well, let's look at the evidence that is currently in the game right now.
Wait, so what do you guys think of that? That instead of, so essentially he's saying that instead of us getting like a higher level zone, kind of like what Meme was saying, that instead of going to Moria, you might go through this new zone instead, so you could bypass Moria. I think that's really fascinating. I don't know what I think about it, because I've heard that Moria is one of the most beautiful zones in the game from a lot of you guys. I know that when I was younger, I didn't love Moria, but it was because I was scared of the dark. so I don't know. That's probably just me, and I was 13. You know, give me a break. But I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
So how all this started was there is actually an invisible wall placed in the northwest hobbit town in Inidwaith, kind of randomly. The invisible wall blocked an NPC that people couldn't access, so later this was fixed. Oops. But really this whole fiasco with that, it made many players curious as to why that invisible wall just randomly appeared here. Oops. And naturally, by pure coincidence actually, I started leveling my minstrel in Inidwaith shortly after these rumblings. And I of course just had to check this area out to see if there was anything suspicious. Well, after a bit of travel, I actually didn't really see much from the Inidwaith side of things, but I went into southwestern Eregion to the town of Murable, Ekad Murable, which just so happens to have a high elevation so you can look over the land from there. And let's go ahead and just check out my reaction for how the land to the west changed.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That is significantly different. This is what used to be here. It is totally different. It's just like giant mountains were tucked away.
Sorry.
So yes, these mountains versus no mountains.
Oh, wow. So this is what it used to look like. It was just kind of, it was a ton of mountains, but now it's been developed a lot. Oh, that's really good. That's really, really good evidence, actually. Yeah, that's really, really good evidence. Good call, Louis.
Giant swamp versus mountains.
Yeah, wow.
I did not expect this much of a difference. I thought this looked weird, but couldn't quite point my
That's
finger.
actually kind of fascinating that they put that in so early. Is that normally, and May, you've been playing this for a long time, is that normally what they do? Because it seems like, you know, like a World of Warcraft wouldn't allow you to see Shadowlands or you know, anything before like a big patch. They wouldn't like change the landscape That's really fascinating, actually. I wonder why they put that in so early. It seems almost like they want people to know about it. You know what I mean?
On
Super interesting.
Until we have a screenshot of what it used to look like. So very clearly a giant mountain has just been deleted from Middle Earth basically overnight. Now my question is, why has this mountain been removed and the landscape significantly changed into like a zone shape if Standing Stone Games is not planning on adding a new zone there?
Interesting.
And I think that question and that idea is pretty strong evidence for why we are going west of Oregon and Enedwaith for the next zone coming to the game.
Yeah.
Also, looking into the newly carved area
Did they say what the
here,
zone was going to be called?
we can also see what clearly looks like roads and different paths around the potential zone.
This looks cool too. This looks like a great place to drive chickens. Just for future channel content, this seems like that would be a solid chicken driver spot. Just let's mark that down. Let's make sure that we do that.
I will just say there's like no reason for zones if players can't travel on them, right?
Yeah.
So
true.
as far as the extent of the zone goes, it honestly appears to extend very far west from where we can see, but that is actually not one part I'm too sure about, because that would be a really huge zone, which maybe it would be, but perhaps I think the looks might be deceiving from up here in Morroble. If done in an ideal manner, I think this potential zone could extend from Inglamith in the north all the way down to Enedwaith and essentially just run along west of Oregon. I also think it could be a great addition to potential greater plans to like finish out the southern portion of Eriador by connecting to go all the way from the Shire, with South Farthing being the connection.
That's kind of a bummer. Do you guys want a Harad, like a Haradrim area? Do you want the desert? I know a lot of people were excited about that, like the aesthetic of the desert. Like, I'm not a huge desert fan in video games, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about them not going into Harad yet, because it seems like that could be really cool. It even seems like they could be really cool to go like into the far east where Sauron went whenever he was disembodied, where apparently the Blue Wizards went as well. That would be an interesting lore alternative. You know, they could really stick with the game in that way. That's really interesting. Let's see. I do agree that Moria looks great, but when you have to put every character through the same dark, cramped, hard to navigate caves in order to level them up, I do agree that it might be time for an alternative. But what Meme was saying before was actually really interesting, and it's true. I haven't had any game that I've ever played, maybe besides how World of Warcraft has done the time walking thing. I've never heard of another game before saying like maybe one zone isn't the best. Let's give a huge alternative to it. Like, that's really fascinating. Instead of, it's not even like taking it away, it's saying like you can actually just level through an entirely different zone. I don't know if that's unique to Lord of the Rings. I feel like that's unique to Lord of the Rings though. Like them adding it later. That's actually really fascinating. Did you chicken drive off of Weathertop? I did not yet, and that needs to happen. I don't know why I've waited. Make a video, top 5 places to chicken drive. I will do that. That's a good idea. Let's keep watching.
And having the South Road be complete from Fornos all the way down to Enedwaith. So if any of that speculation is the case, time will tell. So on top of all of that, we also do know that all new zones in 2022 will be sunny skies and not like darker or oppressing like Minas Morgul and Gundabad. This is something that has been confirmed and talked about by one of the Standing Stone Games developers.
I love regions that are like
really,
sunny
at least
and really
that is
nice.
a confirmation that this area would fit that criterion.
Very cool.
So given all of that information and the drastically changed landscape, I think it is safe to assume that this is going to be the next zone.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, it would also be perfect for an alternative to Moria by covering levels 50 to 60, which if Standing Stone Games paid any attention at all to their player base, they would know this has been requested by players for many years now.
Really?
Personally, I would be very excited for a Moria alternative as well, even though nowadays I kind of actually do like Moria. And actually, if you haven't checked it out yet, I had a very
So it's fascinating. So the player base has been kind of craving against Moria for a while. Is that what he's saying? Is that accurate for you guys? Have you guys noticed that? Like, have people been like, yeah, Moria's too dark, it's not good enough, like the aesthetic's not very good? Like, has that been something that's been the case before? Maru says, I think Haradrim would be a good expansion, but not just a small region. Oh, okay, so this is like a small region update. Okay, I'm understanding now. Sorry, I'm so new to the game. Harad should be as big as Moria at least, but not as big as Rohan, but still big. Oh man, I can't wait to get to Rohan. That's gonna be really fun. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it should be an expansion.
There on my minstrel.
So this isn't like any sort of expansion.
Now,
This is just like a basic
the only odd
update.
thing about this update is
That's
it seems to go against what Standing Stone Games said was their plans last year, where they only mentioned it's like possible that they would have more non-level cap zones like Wildwood was the original one, and they weren't really planning on doing much in Eriador, expanding out from Eriador. And just generally like working on the west. But with the angle of Methathel and Yondershire, both of those we had as non-level cap zones earlier this year, they somewhat go against that, at least being, as I mentioned, non-level cap zones and filling.
Well, and I think one thing for Standing Stone they're probably paying attention to is like what their viewers like. And if their viewers, if what he's saying is true and people have been asking for non-dark zones for a while. Desert locations in video games, if you notice, like there are some, but they can be pretty bland. You have to work really hard to make a desert zone work. Like I don't know if you guys can think of an example, but like I don't think I know of a lot of games that would say like the desert zone in the game, like an action RPG or like an MMO is like a real highlight. I've never had. Oh, Tanaris owned. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. There definitely are some, but I'm saying that like, and for the most part, you don't get a lot of that, which is fascinating.
And gaps in Eriador. So really, that may
SWTOR
just mean that Standing Stone Games
I didn't like
changed their
Tatooine on
plans
SWTOR.
due to very positive reception with Wildwood and players loving filled in areas
the
between
new region
zones
be a hobbit
already
region
in the game,
B and
rather
Wave?
than like extending the
okay.
zone network out and creating
Was in the region? Do you want some
more
screenshots?
gaps.
Yeah, sure. Send them my way.
For me, I personally do enjoy these types of zones, and it honestly, I think, really just makes me more excited for than I normally would be to see where we go next and for like the next zone as far as level cap zones after Gundabad are concerned.
I think what he's saying is good.
That said, if there's no new level cap content at some point, it's probably going to get a little bit boring, and we'll.
Well, you know what he's saying. What he's saying is there's no new level cap content. I don't know if I disagree with Louis here, but like I think that if Standing Stone is doing what I think they're doing, just from like a strategic gameplay standpoint, you probably got most of the people that are at end cap, right? Like they're at end zone right now. They're probably locked in. You know what I mean? Like you're probably not going to get a lot of people churning over and quitting at 140. You know, like they've already done it. They've been there. Like they could probably add a new raid or something like that, or a new dungeon. But I feel like if right now Standing Stone's strategy has to be focused on the new player experience. You've got to focus on someone's first month in this game, and I think the fact that they're focusing on a level 50 area is really smart. Actually, I think it's really smart. I think because again, as you think about people coming in, let's just say that Moria is what I remember. Moria, from what I remember, is very like. It is very dark. It's very cramped. It doesn't like fit everyone's aesthetic. And you probably would get a lot of people who would get to level 50 and then be like, I don't really want to level 10 levels through Moria. I want to do some more bright, shiny place. Like, I think that could be really, really interesting. I think that could be really, really interesting for them. So yeah, fascinating thing with Louis. I think I might disagree a little bit with him on that one. How long would it take to hit 140? Maggie, honestly, I don't know. I think, May, that's a question for you. What do you think? How long does it take to hit 140?
Just have to see how Standing Stone Games balances that. Let me know what you all think about all this, and if you think this is enough evidence that the next zone will be west of Southern Eregion and Anadoith, or at the very least will be added to the game in the next couple updates, perhaps.
Yeah.
And as far as this video goes, I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something useful, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing for more, or becoming a channel member to support the content.
Always
and
subscribe.
Thanks for watching,
Always like it. Always like it. Thank you, Louis. Hey, if you guys have not followed Louis yet, please go do so. He's awesome. I really appreciate his content. In fact, his content was one of the ones that got me back into the game. So if you guys have enjoyed watching me, it's a lot because of Louis. So thank you to him. Yeah, what do you guys think about that? I think that's good, actually. I think it's a good thing that they're focusing on that 50 to 60 mark, especially if that's been a pain point for people before, because when September comes, and again, it kind of makes me think when September comes, the crowd that's going to matter the most to the survival of this game is really going to be very important. It's going to be really, really important for them to grab that player base of like just jumping in, and I would assume, by the time you get through level 60, you've played through the original expansion. You've played through not only the original expansion, but you've played through, a little bit of Moria or this new zone, and you're probably locked in at that point. You like the story enough. Like, it's a really fun place to do. I think that's really important, and so I'm glad that they're focusing on that. I think that's really smart. And Meme said this earlier. It just further emphasizes their desire for people to play in the world more than the dungeons and endgame, and I totally agree. I think that that's super fascinating. So these are apparently the screenshots in the zones, which is pretty cool. I like these, man. They look really, really cool. Yeah, I like zones like this. I think this is, again, it's kind of like a foil. Ooh, look at that water. That looks good. I think it's a little bit like a foil to. I like the aesthetic of that Hobbit place too. That's really sick. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a foil to what Moria is, and so giving people the option. Now, the one thing that I've noticed with Lord of the Rings Online, sometimes it's hard to know where to go. I know that when I hit like 38, I was like, where should I quest? And I only knew it because like I asked some people in the Discord, or maybe someone in game. It's like, where should I quest? And they said, hey, go to Numinous to grab another level before your next thing. So I think they've got to make sure that they make it really clear. But I am really encouraged about that. That makes me excited.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave it a like. It's totally free to do. Subscribe if you want to see more. And as always, I'm live on Twitch over at twitch.tv/BrightLifeCommunity. We're a community of positive and uplifting gamers. Come find a friend to raid with, grab loot with, and just enjoy life together with. Hope you have an awesome day. Be blessed, and you are so loved and so valuable.